We request everyone to kindly rise as the dignitaries arrive. We request everyone to kindly take your seats. Good morning to one and all present here. I, Vidhi Nair, along with my co-host Vedang Khopkar, will be taking you through the program today. We have three guest sessions today. They are focused upon preparing you to understand how to fit best within the corporate world. For these three sessions, we have three experts from the industry, and we have the pleasure in introducing the first industry expert, Mr. KV Premraj sir, former CEO ADFC, Charter President Toastmasters International Club. Sir has 37 years experience in banking with 20 years at HDFC Bank. Sir has introduced an innovative office process as a branch manager, which is now a standard practice in the industry. As a CEO of a group company within HDFC Bank, Sir has managed a workforce of over 21,000 employees. Sir is the co author of 5 Amazon best selling books, offering profound insights into banking and leadership through real life stories. His expertise is featured in major publications such as Times of India, Economic Times, and others. While his thought provoking leadership extends to over 150 talk shows and international podcasts, he is active in community service. Premraj Sir has been the president of Rotary Club of Borivali and is the charter president of the National Park Toastmasters Club. We request Sir to join us on the stage and enlighten us about the topic from classroom to corporate. We request Director Ma'am to extend a floral welcome to Sir. Can we have a round of applause for Sir?
Thank you. Good morning, friends. Thank you for that kind introduction. And thank you, ma'am, for inviting me for this session. When we say from campus to the corporate, what does that mean? Any thoughts on that? Can we do a small exercise, please? Please close your eyes and visualize you are in a corporate, in that ideal corporate that you want to be part of. Think of a typical day in which you are interacting with your colleagues, with your immediate supervisor and your boss, a very empathetic setup, people who are compassionate with you. And how would you like to feel in that setup? Now you can open your eyes. Sorry. Since you have visualized your ideal day and ideal corporate, let us see what we can do as to how is it that we can navigate this transition from campus to the corporate. Within a couple of years, once you pass out, you will be out in the corporate. I've got a small presentation wherein we will see as to how you can transition. So it's still early days for you all. It is some of the things that, based on my experience, I have collated. So can we have the presentation, please? What is the difference between a corporate, uh, a campus to corporate? In a campus, you have paid to be here, while in a corporate, they will pay you to perform. That is the essential difference in your life. And the key aspect, when you are in a corporate, there will be responsibilities thrust on you all. There will be projects, there will be a lot of other responsibilities that you have. You will need to ensure that the timelines are met and you are in sync with the corporate objectives. And for that, we will need some essential soft skills that will be required. And when we talk about soft skills, which is the most important one? It is communication. Communication is said to be the mother of all skills. And your communication needs to be crisp and very clear. Let me share a personal example. There was this time when I was in Bank of Maharashtra in Ahmedabad, and as per office rules, if someone takes a medical leave, they have to produce a medical certificate, a fitness certificate. So there was this lady who called me, I am on sick leave, I'll be resuming tomorrow. So what do I do? I said, get a medical certificate. So she asked me, my husband is a doctor. Can I get a certificate from him? I said, fine. The next day, the lady came with a certificate. Her husband was a vet. So when you say something, your communication has to be very, very clear to ensure that there is no ambiguity. And the second one would be teamwork. When we talk about teamwork, can any project survive without teamwork? How many of you are interested in cricket here? So India won the World Cup now, the T20 World Cup. Cast your mind's eye to the last 5 overs of the match. And who were the principal characters? Hardik Pandya? Sorry? Surya Kumar Yadav for an outstanding catch, out of this world catch, and no, Indians. Bumrah and Rohit Sharma, who was leading the pack. So it was these 4 gentlemen who really ensured that India won the World Cup. And in which team did they belong to in the IPL? All 4 were Mumbai Indians. And where did Mumbai Indians finish in the IPL? At the bottom. Why? Because there was no teamwork. These were individuals who could perform exceedingly well, but because of the issues that they had at the franchisee, wherein Rohit Sharma was replaced as a captain as a last moment by Hardik, and all the issues that they had, Bumrah and Surya Kumar thought that they should have been the captain because they were senior to Hardik. This is what teamwork is. So when you are in a corporate, you need to ensure that individually you decide that you will be part of the team, and collectively you'll decide that the team comes first. So this is one of the most essential things that you will need to survive in a corporate setup. And the third one is adaptability, embracing change and learning new methods. We have a speaker here, Sonali, who will be talking about AI and other things. So I won't dwell too much on that. Essential hard skills. Technical skills relevant to your job role. Again, you find that AI is taking over everything. You need to ensure that you learn, unlearn, and relearn. All the technical aspects that are needed should be there to ensure that you survive in this setup. Data analysis and problem solving. This is one of the critical skills that will be required as you move up the ladder. You'll need to be able to critically think on your feet, so that whenever any problems come up, you are in a position to ensure that you are on top of it. And continuous learning, I said, learning, unlearning, and relearning is going to be the basic things. It is said the shelf life of knowledge is very, very limited. And especially in the new things that are coming up, you have an upgraded version of something come up, the new thing gets obsolete. So you need to ensure you are on top of things. You need to ensure that you keep upskilling yourself. And when you go to the corporate, you will find there might be trainings, the corporate will give you, but you as a person need to ensure that you upscale yourself, because there it could be a dog eat dog world, each one for themselves. So if you have to survive, you need to do things on your own rather than depend on others. There'll be a lot of things that you will learn here in college. Not everything will be useful, but yes, there will be some percentage of things that you learn in schools and colleges that can be put into use at the corporate front. So ensure that you do that. Showcasing achievement projects, internship, and courseworks during the course of this 2 years. And in the past, you all would have done a lot of projects. It could be academic projects or it could be even social projects. I'm very happy to state that 2 years ago, when I was the president of the Rotary Club, Madam had instructed us to do some social projects wherein students from this college embarked on a project where we did a lot of cleaning up at the national park. So those are the things that you can project when you go to a corporate to show that you are a socially responsible citizen. So that will also help. And
Can we clap for sir for that kind of support? I just want to say a few words about Mr. KV Premraj at this juncture. He has been a very good friend to the institute because there are students who have been privileged to work under social projects, and they've also gone and taught the underprivileged kids in these societies, also handle different kinds of social activities. I think sir has played a significant role in the extension activities of the institute. I think I'm extremely grateful to him for that. Thank you so much once again.
thank you, ma'am, for that acknowledgement. And it was a pleasure doing that. And even though I'm not the president now, if anyone wants to do any social things, it's always open. And plus, since I'm now the charter president of the Toastmasters, if someone wants to improve their speaking skills, they can get in touch with me. Like we said, communication is the mother of all skills. So that's an offer that I'm giving to you. Building your professional network. Networking strategies, attending events, joining associations, that's very, very critical. And another thing is ensure that all of you all have your LinkedIn profile. That is a profile that will be looked at by prospective employers. And even as you grow up in your career, this is the go-to networking concern. And as far as LinkedIn is concerned, about 2 years ago, NMIS had called me to be a judge at their annual intercollegiate debating competition. After that, I've received so many requests, connect requests from students from that college. So when y'all have someone coming here, y'all can always connect with them. You don't know when something will open up for y'all in future. So please ensure that networking is taken very, very seriously. And remember, your network is your net worth. Mentorship, learning from mentors. You can't do everything on your own. Ensure that you get a mentor. Your corporate might give you a mentor, but even if they don't, whether it's your professor in the college or any senior, ensure that you get mentors who will help you scale up the ladder. And it's very, very essential that you get a mentor in an organization that you join, because when you join an organization, you may not be aware of the things that the organization will be doing. So if you have you, that will help. And when I say senior, it might be someone senior in the a manager has been mentored by a peer the organization well, and that person was aware how to solve problems. So don't be shy at whatever stage of life your mentor will be. If that person is or can add value to your life, please ensure that you take it. Personal development, work-life balance, continuous learning. Like we said, the shelf life of a skill is very, very limited. So you need to ensure that you keep learning, relearning, and unlearning. Unlearning is very important because unless you unlearn something, you can't relearn a lot of things. We need to ensure that we are lifelong learners, not only in the academic front, but a lot of other things. And for that, the Bhagavad Gita is the go-to book, is what I feel. So if someone wants to do that, please go through the Bhagavad Gitas. There are abridged versions available that will really, really help you to give a perspective of life which no other book can give you. Maintaining balance, time boundaries. We talk about work-life balance. It should not be only work, work, work. There has to be a work-life balance. Yesterday, I was reading a WhatsApp thing which said a Chinese worker died after he spent in 104 days, he had taken only 1 day's leave. And then when he died, his boss put out the mail. See, this is what happens when you take a day's leave. He had worked for 104 days. And there's always a debate going on as to what is the number of hours of work that one should have. There are no fixed rules. Narayan Murthy said you should be working 70 hours in a week. That caused a lot of flack. But yes, what I would suggest is when you are young, you need to work hard so that you carve a niche for yourself. If you only stick to the 9 to 5 work, you're not going to progress anyway. So in the nascent stage of a career, don't look at the clock. See what experience you can get. See how is it that you can move up the corporate ladder. Because if you only keep watching the clock, the bosses also will be watching you. But if you put in long hours, quality work, when I say long hours, it has to be smart work. If you work smart, you will really, really spot. And along with that, also ensure that you don't lose track of your other interests in life. There has to be work-life balance. So your hobbies, all the other things that you love, ensure that you do that. And along with that, if you can practice some meditation, there is a lot of stress out there in the world. If you practice meditation, you will ensure that your mind and body is on a common plane, which will really, really help you progress in life and ensure that you have a stress-free life. So work-life balance, or what I called work-life harmony, is very, very essential as you transit into the corporate world. So what are the key takeaways? Embrace a corporate culture, which you will as you go ahead. Embrace both hard skills and soft skills. Leverage economic knowledge and build a network. Focus on continuous improvement and work-life balance. So that's all I had. And as you transition, in a couple of years from now, you will be going into the corporate world. I wish you all the very best. And let's present and ensure that you present the rest of your life as the best of your life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable insights. We would like to request Director, sir, to extend a token of gratitude to sir. Can we have a huge round of applause for sir? Thank you, sir.
We would now like to introduce our next guest speaker, Dr. Sonali Tipre ma'am, Director at Margins View Consultancy Private Limited. Madam has 3 decades of experience in business and data analytics. Her career is driven by a passion for AI, advanced analytics, and preventive healthcare. As Director and CEO of Elenos, Madam is committed to integrating AI and advanced analytics into businesses. Under her leadership, Elenos aims to transform business operations by making data central to sustainable growth. Sonali ma'am also contributes to Interlink as a director, specializing in pharma and healthcare consulting. Madam is investor in director of Eleonora, where she supports development of nutraceutical and cosmeceutical products for graceful aging. Madam is an active speaker, blogger, and leadership trainer, and is also looking forward to authoring her first book. We now invite ma'am to please grace us on the stage and give a speech. We also request Dean ma'am to give a floral welcome to ma'am. We request director sir to please give a floral welcome to ma'am.
Good afternoon to everybody. Yeah, thank you. Nice to see everybody very interested, very sharp looking, and trying to learn everything from all the guest lectures that we are going to do up today. The topic that I have got, or I want to talk about really, is emerging trends and expectations from young professionals. Okay. So what I'm going to do is in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to break this. Okay. That's what we do always in AI, try to break something and then create something and try to build and make it more scalable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this. First, I'm going to talk about the trends, and I want to give a disclaimer here. This is all with my experience and my perspective. Okay. So the trends, then we will talk about young professionals, and then I will end it with trying to talk about what I see emerging. I, as in the industry and what we are talking about. So let's first talk about the trends in general. Okay. I am sure everybody has always told you it's very dynamic out there and, बहुत difficult hai, and, you've got to be in this rat race and you've got to perform and you've got to be the first, so on and so forth, and some will give a very gloomy picture and somebody will give a very, very, very optimistic picture. But all said and done, I want to talk about certain trends which are going to remain and which are there. So today, a gear manufacturing company still manufactures gears. Okay. A software development company still manufactures, so to say, or makes a software, or a bank still does a banking activity. So what has changed? What are the trends that we are talking about? And here I would like to summarize it in 3 ways or 3 words, and I'm calling them as T-E-A, chai. Okay. So what are these 3 words? One is technique. The techniques of you doing the business are changing. Technology is helping it a lot, or rather, technology is driving it a lot. Okay. So, if people stand up and say technology, everything is becoming technology oriented, they are not wrong. Right? Yesterday, if somebody stood up and said, जैसे हम अभी बात करते हैं, like in Mahabharat, somebody could sit somewhere and watch a youth going on, you say, हाँ, now you're talking, it's a Skype, a Teams call. हो सकता है ना, आराम से हो सकता है. Let's talk to our grandmothers. Would they say that this was possible? They would feel it's magical. Right? So what has changed? Accessibility has changed. Expectations have changed. So my technique of doing business has changed. And this is a trend that you guys need to understand, that it's just gonna keep changing. The way people did business before is not going to be the way the business is going to be run tomorrow. And therefore, what does it mean? It comes to my second part of the T, which is E, which is linked. So what does it mean? My expectations of managing that techniques are going to be very different. So iska matlab kya hua? As young professionals, you guys need to be very, very apt with what's coming up. You cannot stand up and say in an organization any longer ki, I don't know how to get connected to Teams call. Or I don't know how to show my, screen. And though it sounds very menial right now, please understand, in a meeting, if you consistently show up doing well, you're looked upon as somebody different. So point number 1 is technology ko embrace karo, understand the techniques. Okay. Learn the expectations that come from that techniques. And here, sir has already mentioned to you something about soft skills and everything that we are talking about. And I'll talk a little bit about this when I'm talking about young professionals again. The last part of the T is A, and A is the attitude. Okay, and here, when I mean the attitude, I mean the attitude of you and somebody whom you're dealing with. Okay, so the customers. So jaise aaj, okay, just let me just give you an example. Netflix pe you're watching a movie, and for some moments it buffers. What happens? You're restless. Half a second of buffering is causing you restlessness. अरे भाई ये कैसे हुआ यार? ये ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. Which means what? Your expectation is like ऐसा आना चाहिए. Okay, your thought processes are like Sonali has to be concise in 5 minutes. Give me gyan. That's my real culture. My span of attention, my span of taking in things, everything is changing, and not only of yours, even of your customers, of your bosses, of your colleagues, of everybody around you. Okay, so what does this mean? Your attitude towards everything that you're doing needs to change. And in all of this, when I talk about attitude, there are a hell lot of soft skills that are there. But let me tell you the core thing about it. Your attitude is going to come out strikingly if you know what you're doing. Because only people, those who know what they do, can make it very simple. And the person who can make it very simple can say it very easily. And what is communicated very easily is understood remarkably. You get what I'm saying? So आज जो हम podcast देखते हैं, we feel, oh my God, Ranveer Ahluwalia, or what is that? Beer biceps, right? कौन है वो? क्या नाम? Allahabadiya. Sorry. Okay. You see the amount of depth that he has in whatever that he's talking. Yes or no? Would you want to listen to somebody who is not an expert in what he's saying? No. And so when you're talking about a content age and all of this, you cannot afford to remain too generalists. So what does it mean? It means that as young professionals, try and learn as much as you can, and which is the core of young, right? Young ka matlab kya hota hai? What does young mean? Has young got anything to do with age? Otherwise, I'm sorry, I call myself young, but I'm very old. So the point here is young has got to do with your attitude. Attitude of being adaptable, attitude of learning, okay? An attitude of no ego. Okay, like what sir said. I mean, it's very easy to say like this कि मैंने प्यून से ये सीख लिया. Today, let your mate stand up and tell you आप ये गलत कर रहे हो. You wouldn't want to listen to that, right? The point here is that as a young professional or as a young student, you're okay to listen to me. But when I become your peer, you don't want to listen to me. Yeah, what did she tell me? You know, so I'm just trying to tell you, don't remove the youth out of you. But let's talk about being professional also. In the matter of being professional, and which is what comes out to, and we'll merge these two concepts. When you are a young professional, what is the corporate or anybody expecting? Today, when we are picking up young people, I am the investor in one of the companies which is into preventive healthcare. They are young guys. Matlab, I believe that you should be always in a coat and properly prim sitting in the office, and they will come with joggers, and most of the times their business is about what reel banayenge, and some things are stupid reels that they make up with. But the point that I'm trying to tell you here is the professional is not determined by what you're wearing, what you're doing, how you're talking. It's about your attitude towards things, which means that I'm not judgmental as a professional. Okay, I'm not taking things too personally as a professional. Okay, I'm very purposeful. If you're digressing from something and I don't agree with you, but still you are on the path of what we are trying to do, you're a professional. So what is the world expecting out from you today? It is expecting you to be good young professionals, which means learning. And secondly, extremely purpose-driven. Okay, in the sense of what do you want to do? What is expected out of me? Mujhe kya karna chahiye? And without being judgmental, without being arrogant, without having an ego, just jumping into and giving it your best. And in that sense, I'm going to end my conversation here today, open for questions. If you have any, is to say what according to me I feel is emerging. In the past 20 years, I have been in a technology field and everybody feels technology is emerging. And yes, it is. There is no doubt about it. But what I believe is emerging is the way people are dealing with technology. So what I believe is tomorrow's leaders are going to be those which are going to actually connect and create tribes. तो आज आप क्रॉक्स पहन के जाते हो, क्यों जाते हो? Because there's that whole thought process. So people will be hired with that thought process. People will be taken in with that thought process. People will be trained with that attitude for that organization. So in that sense, I believe for you tomorrow, the best thing to do is to be your authentic self and be the best version of that. Because I think tomorrow's leaders are like artists. Everybody will have the same recipe. Have you seen Miss India's walking? Everybody has the core statistics. Everybody has a sense of beauty. Everybody has the charisma. Who takes it? Who takes it has the right recipe of everything. And your recipe could be very different from yours, could be very different from mine. But if I stick to it by being a young professional, any emerging trend, I will be able to tide over. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an insightful description. We request the director, ma'am, to please come and present a token of gratitude to ma'am. Can we have a huge round of applause for ma'am? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, director, ma'am.
Just a few words about Dr. Sonali Tipre, madam. She is a very valuable member of our academic advisory committee. And I hope you know what it means. It means that she gives us all the insights, all the trends that we should capture from the industry and incorporate within the syllabus to enrich it and make it totally industry driven. In that regard, her contributions have been immeasurable for the last 5 years that I've been here at the Institute. I think hats off to the way in which she has contributed. A round of applause for Dr. Sonali ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Please.
We now have the pleasure of introducing our next guest speaker, Ms. Gita Babaria, ma'am, CTO, Capgemini Engineering. Madam is a technology leader and transformation catalyst with over 28 years of expertise. She ignites business growth through strategic technology leadership. With a proven track record of 19 plus years in client facing roles, she empowers organizations to realize their full potential by spearheading service and product transformations, leveraging cutting edge technologies. Her passion lies in IoT and digital transformation, crafting winning strategies and implementation roadmaps that unlock the power of connected devices and data. Product and service innovation, driving the development and launch of game changing products and services that meet evolving market needs. Management consulting, partnering with clients to solve complex challenges and achieve their strategic goals. We request ma'am to grace the stage with her presence. We request Director ma'am to extend a warm welcome to ma'am.
So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, ma'am, and my friends here for inviting me to address this wonderful audience. I believe I'm looking at, as Sonali ma'am said, the future leaders, right? And my being the third, I initially thought I'll go third. I'll kind of get plenty of time to think about what I want to say. But I have to say, after the master class that I attended, from Prem Raj sir and Sonali ma'am, I have very little to left to say. They've covered almost everything that you guys need to know. Okay, so I'll kind of change tracks a little bit, and I'll kind of focus more on technology, why the business is changing the way it's changing, and what you will need to do. Now, let me ask you one question. I wanted to make this interactive, but there are a lot of people watching. But still, let me give you some points to ponder on. When we say corporate, okay, and young emerging professional, what does corporate mean to you? I mean, sir has covered that a little bit, But does corporate mean working for an MNC? Does corporate mean working for, say, the municipal BMC? Does working for BMC mean you're working for a corporate? Or does working for an educational institute like Aditya Group means you're working for a corporate? What does corporate mean to you? Or working for a startup like Ola or Uber, or for that matter, Zomato, mean working for a corporate, right? So I'll kind of leave that thought with you. The word corporate can be interpreted in a lot of ways, but at the end of the day, it means that there are going to be certain structured processes, policies, and ma'am referred to it, culture, that each organization has. A particular organization like a bank, Premraj sir was talking about HDFC. There, if I turn up in Crocs and shorts, I'll probably not get entry, right? There, yes, it is absolutely must for you to be properly attired, because people who are going to invest with you, who are going to trust with you their money, they want to see somebody responsible, dependable out there, right? So that, again, what will work for a bank may not work for Ola or Uber, or may not work for somebody, I mean, like Sonali ma'am. Her team might be completely mavericks, right? So you will have to first of all see and absorb what the culture of that company is. And my advice to you again is, please select a company or join a company not because it's big or large or it's offering you a lot of money, but because it aligns with your personal values and beliefs. If you work for a place where your beliefs, your values, and your requirement, your principles are aligned, then you will be happy there. You'll be able to work for a longer period of time and get more satisfaction. And that means in 2 years time or 3 years time, because I know some of you are from MCA, some of you are from MBA kind of a program, management services program, you will have that itch to do a startup. How many of you want to do a startup? Okay, I see quite a few hands. Yes. So I'm going to look forward to all of you starting your own startups, and I'll kind of reach out to you to engage me as a consultant. Okay. But now let's kind of get on with the presentation. The topic that ma'am discussed with me was again emerging trends, technologies, specifically emerging trends in technology, or emerging technologies and young professionals, or how to succeed as a young professional in emerging technology, with using emerging technologies. Now for that, again, Sonali ma'am has covered a lot of ground. What does emerging mean, right? She gave you a good acronym T, and I'm going to, can you move on to the next slide, please? I'm going to kind of summarize whatever she said with a slightly bigger slide. But what she said is exactly what I've kind of put here. Take up any management book, 30 years back or even today, the management book will talk about VUCA world. How many of you know the word VUCA? Okay, great. So you know it is about volatility, uncertainty, and that kind of risks that are associated with. So my question is, if the world was uncertain and volatile place 30 years back with a lot of risks, what has changed today? We are still talking the same language. We're still talking about the same particular aspects. The business processes still remain same. But as ma'am said, what has changed is the expectation. What has changed is the way you engage with your customers. I mean, one of the very famous quotes that I kind of can think of, which will drive home the point, is when Ford started manufacturing car, he said something like, they can have any color they want as long as it is black. That means the manufacturers and the product designers or product producers were in the driving seat. They did not worry about what the customer wants. It was, I'll decide what the customer wants, I'll give it to them. But what has changed now? You wouldn't even spend 5 more minutes. Now you want, even if you go to a ready-made store, you want that dress to be customized to you. You want your nail color to be customized to you. You want your lipstick colors to be customized. You want your lipstick to be enriched with vitamin E or whatever, right? Everybody wants a unique personal experience, even in a commercial or a retail kind of a scenario. So that is what essentially is changing now. And where the technology is coming in, technology is coming in at every single level. Now if I kind of talk about IoT, can you just think about how technology has impacted your world? She kind of referred, asked your dadi whether telecast or a broadcast was possible. But yes, dadi would probably say हमारे जमाने में होता था, कृष्ण भगवान ने ऐसा किया था, right? बट हमारे पुराणों में ऐसा लिखा हुआ है, हमारे रामायण में ऐसा लिखा हुआ है, हम we already have atom bombs, we already had nuclear bombs, we had vimans, everything. So anybody who watches Beer Biceps or the Ranveer show would know about all of these things, right? They have talked about it quite a bit. But I mean, fact is that technology has started invading in every single thing that we do. But what is changing is a focus, the business focuses. Now we need to optimize the infrastructure. We need to optimize, we need to be faster, we need to be agile, we need to cater to the customer's requirements much more rapidly. Anybody who kind of doesn't change with time is going to go out of business. And I can give you a list of different things that are people who have gone out of business because they were afraid to change or they were afraid to adapt. Best example that I personally like is Kodak, right? Kodak was the very first company to come out with a digital camera, but they did not introduce that camera into the market because they thought that digital camera would eat into their film revenues. So what happened? Kodak almost went out of business. The traditional model went out of business. Blockbusters, Netflix put blockbusters out of work. The Kali Pili Gadis is out of work because of Ola and Ubers. That means what? The technology is being used as an enabler in the ways that we don't even think it was possible 5 years back. So if technology is really changing rapidly, what are the things that are driving it? Now, you want anything, anywhere right now. Even, your groceries you want in 10 minutes. Your electronics you want in 10 minutes. You don't want to wait for a 24-hour delivery, right? So anything, anytime, anywhere, Netflix kind of buffering, 2 seconds, not acceptable. So technology is enabling all of these changes. So how do you, but what are those technology trends? What is it that is going to be there in the next 10 years? So I'll kind of quickly do, what I'll do is I'll kind of quickly look at, how many of you are aware of Gartner's hype cycles? You know what Gartner hype cycle is all about? Okay, can you move to the next slide, please? Gartner hype cycle essentially kind of talks, Gartner every year does a lot of research, and it has a cycle which kind of talks about a new technology which is entering and kind of which new technology which will go through a particular expectancy as to when it will mature, whether it will succeed, whether it will drop out, whether it will hit a plateau or not, right? So I've kind of taken two curves and put them here side by side, and I wanted to kind of you to see what is changing, how technology is maturing. And if you can go on to the next slide, please. I've kind of summarized it for you. We were talking about things like big data, Internet of Things, IoT. We were talking about wearables. We were talking about autonomous reality. We were talking about augmented reality and so on, right? Some of these were just entering 10 years back, but we were kind of saying they're going to change the way we work. And now I'll kind of tell you to think about it. When you look at these technologies and you think about your daily lives, you can correlate how some of these things you are experiencing or using on a daily basis without even realizing that these are technology driven, right? Whether it is testing out a new frames on Lenskart, or whether it is trying for a new color dress, or being recommended what will pair well on Myntra or Amazon. These are all being driven by some of these technologies. Location-based services, your personal preferences, tracking of your personal preferences, voice-activated kind of devices. How many of you use Siri or Google or Amazon? A show of hands? Okay. So all of you know how to order a pizza using your voice, right? And all of you are probably, I mean, some of you are probably even controlling your AC using your voice. So that means now let's kind of look at from the technology perspective. 30 years back when I started working, I mean, kind of, I'm dating myself here, but I worked with something that was called a punch card and a floppy disk. And a floppy disk with the size of 9 inches, right? Today, you won't even see those in a museum. You are not even interacting with your computer with a keyboard. You are more habituated to swiping, scrolling. Even your kids, or I mean, if you have small kids at home, you'll see that a 3-year-old toddler is also swiping through and selecting the right video in the YouTube channels. So we are kind of getting into an age where next generation is digital generation, or that is much more habituated to consuming technology on a daily basis for everything. Even when you go to your bathroom, now you have smart particular fittings. You have your smart refrigerator, you have your smart microwave, you have your smart robotic cleaner. Everything is smart except maybe me, right? Our phones have become smart, our devices have become smart, and all of this is being driven by some of the basic technologies. So why am I mean, as we said, if everything is changing so rapidly, and the skill, the shelf life of a skill is only a few weeks now. I mean, if I just kind of connect it, can you move on to the next slide, please? If I connect it with an example, the adoption of first million phones, the rotary phones, I don't know if anybody has seen those anymore or not, but घर पे जो phones होते थे ना, the adoption of first million phones would have taken X number of years, 10 years, 15 years to reach a million people. Today, an app like one of the games, Pokemon or something like that, takes just about few hours to reach a million hits. And that is the kind of change, that is a kind of responsiveness, that is a kind of scalability that we are looking at, and that is the kind of design thinking that we are looking at when we are designing a new product. So if you are going to be entrepreneurs, and if you are going to design a new particular offering or a service, you will have to think as to what problem statement you are trying to understand. Do not use technology for the sake of technology. I mean, there was a time when the technocrats, like people like me who are working on a computer or program, we used to sit in a closed off AC kind of a room, have no clue about what the business was doing, and we would kind of build something, and people used to kind of be a little afraid of us. But that is not the case anymore. Unless and until the technology or the technocrat understands the business, understands the pain points, understands the business objective, we are not going to be able to kind of build solutions that connect and cater to the customer needs. So these are the kind of building. I mean, Capgemini every year publishes, we do keep on doing a lot of research, and we publish our own findings on that. And these are the 6 pillars of how technology is changing, how it is becoming all pervasive. The very first container, if you will, is a U experience. How are you interacting with your environment? What are you working with? And so now we are not talking about mouse and keyboards. Now we are talking about touch screens. You're talking about voice interfaces. You're just expecting magic to happen when you just say something, right? So like I said, move to the next slide, and it'll kind of automatically move to the next slide, right? So these are, I mean, and thriving on data, invisible infrastructure. Today we take infrastructure for granted. Netflix ka, again, going back to the same example, 5 seconds, 1 second of buffering is not acceptable. What kind of an infrastructure will enable that? What kind of 5G connectivity do we need? What kind of bandwidth do we need? How are we getting that bandwidth? Do we ever think about it? Where is that infrastructure? So infrastructure itself is becoming invisible. But if you are going to work on infrastructure projects, you'll have to understand what are those demands, what is that scale going to look like, when is it going to peak, and so on. And all of that is going to come from where? It's going to come from data, right? And the more things get connected, the more we consume, the more we generate. Now we are actually generating trillions and trillions of terabytes of data, right? Can you imagine a Boeing airplane that is flying generates about 3 terabytes of data per second, or an autonomous car that is kind of driving is almost like a data center on wheels. That means I'm now using more computing power. I'm now using different ways of connecting. And the more I connect, I'm introducing security issues. One of the best example that I can think of is I've kind of somebody gets a pacemaker in the, implanted. And the next day somebody gets a message saying, itna paisa de, nahi to pacemaker band kar dunga. You wouldn't want that to happen, right? You wouldn't want somebody to hack into your car, or you wouldn't want somebody to hack into your pacemaker, or you wouldn't want somebody to hack into your AC or, refrigerator and kind of blow it up. Yeah, these are all realistic scenarios that can happen. But that is where cybersecurity and securing your connections becomes important. So these are the different trends that are going to be there, but I will definitely touch upon one important trend, which is balance by design. We are consuming so much. We are kind of, just focusing on more. But where will these resources come from? Are we going to be sustainable? What does sustainability mean to us? And these are the criteria that you will have to focus on as a person who's kind of starting to work in the industry, whether it's a startup or a corporate. Are the solutions that you are designing sustainable? Are your personal habits sustainable? And unless and until, if we are not focused about sustainability right now, we might not have a earth to live on in 10 years time or 20 years time. I mean, I can have a complete 3-hour session just on sustainability. Can we move on to the next slide, please? So these are certain trends from a new technology perspective. I'll kind of share the presentation with you later on. You can look up some of these technology trends, but some of the interesting keywords are things like quantum computing, or generative AI, or AI agents. Now, generative AI, we already talked about. We can now do a lot of things. ChatGPT, I'm sure almost everyone here is using ChatGPT, right? And even teachers are using ChatGPT to figure out if the students have cheated or not. Plagiarism and not putting in sufficient effort is not right? So if everything is changing, everything is becoming accessible, what am I going to focus on? What are the trends that is the important? What should I as a professional be looking at? And that is where I'll say, please kind of move on to the next slide, please. Focus on the fundamentals. Technologies can change, technologies evolve, and I'm a testament to that. Me and Ramakrishnan Iyer sir, we've kind of worked together for almost 20-30 years. I told you, I've kind of seen technology go from a punch card to a USB or a SSD drives or storage in cloud. How does that impact us? The languages have changed from Pascal and Fortran to Golang and Python, right? The computing devices, my first particular computer that I bought myself had just 640 KB of RAM. Today, do you buy a phone without 8 GB or 16 GB of RAM? You don't, right? So some of these accessibility to hardware is changing the way we work, but the fundamental remains constant. I'll still need to kind of build a device. I'll need to connect it. I'll need to kind of design an interface. What is changing is the way somebody is going to interact with my design, right? So yes, focus on learning, unlearning and relearning, because that is going to be required if you want to survive in this ever changing world. And as sir said, in technology, the shelf life of a new skill or a technical skill is just about 6 months. But when you look at the recruitment ads from people, they'll say, I need somebody with 10 years of experience in generative AI. अरे भाई generative AI 3 साल से अभी introduce हुआ है, 10 साल का experience कहाँ से लाऊंगा? But what they mean is, I need you to have that understanding of how data and AI algorithms have evolved. How many of you think AI is a new technology? Or how many of you can tell me how old is AI? When do you think the first AI kind of a program was written? Any idea? 2000, 1990, 1975, 1980, or 2010, 2015? Any ideas? Any numbers? What would you say if I say AI and AI algorithms have been around since 1940, since World War I and World War II? It is only now these particular algorithms are becoming easily accessible because of the compute power. So yes, if I say I need data analytics expertise and AI expertise, with 10 years, it's quite possible to do that, right? So so these are the different things that we're talking about. Cloud computing, super apps, the way apps behave, IoT and connected products, everything is becoming connected, right? And we are generating so much of data that data analytics and AI ML is becoming important. And cybersecurity and blockchain are becoming important. So all of these technologies will evolve, but the fundamentals will remain same. If your concepts are clear, if you can connect the dots, if you can learn, unlearn, and relearn technologies, you should be good. So what do I look for as a young professional? What am I looking for? Because I know skills is something I can teach, technology skills is something I can teach, but what is it that I'm looking for in a new person in my team? And that sir and ma'am have already covered, but I'll still kind of show you that. Can you move on to the next slide, please? Personal qualities, these are some of them, and these are all that we already talked about. But I'll start off with resilience and emotional intelligence and integrity. The very first thing is integrity. If I cannot trust you, I cannot have you on my team. No, it doesn't matter how brilliant you are. If we have to have personal integrity, okay? Why are we talking about emotional intelligence and resilience and empathy? I mean, in a way, some of these are a subset of emotional intelligence, but I'm still trying to kind of break it out for you. We talked about teamwork. We talked about, handling various stakeholders. We talked about how we are going to kind of work in a completely new environment. We talked about understanding what our customer needs are, what my boss's needs are, what my team members are. We talked about learning from anybody without ego, right? Learning something from a peon. Or as ma'am said, if I'm here, I'm speaking, 20 years of experience, CTO, it's not Gita you're listening to. You're listening to somebody who's got the designation of a CTO in a particular organization, right? So if you might meet outside, you might not want to listen to me. So the point that everybody was trying to drive home in the previous two sessions is knowledge can come from anywhere. Mentors you can find everywhere. Be open and understand that. And that is where, when you combine the personal quality with skills, that is when you get the winning combination. And that is where I leave you with a formula for success. Okay? Can you move to the next slide, please? This is, and this, all the maths and MCA and MBS, MBA people, you'll probably be able to relate to it a little better. I could have created a recipe out of it. You know, pinch of this, a cup of that, dash of this, dash of that. But here, look at how we've organized the attributes and the skills that we talked about. If you have, resilience, emotional intelligence, integrity, and optimism, and when you combine it with technical skills, and then you multiply it with the industry experience or the domain experience, that is when you get the winning formula of the success. And this is not going to happen overnight. Some skills are learned and some have to be improved. So, and this is the time when you have the next 3 years in terms of personal experience, in terms of, working as interns, in terms of working as various particular, using the summer breaks to kind of do works. I'll kind of emphasize this once again, is do not turn down any internship offer because it's a small thing. I often tell the people that come to me for mentoring, go and be work at a McDonald's behind the counter, flip burgers, go and work in a fast QSR or quick service restaurant. You will understand what customer connect is. You will understand what quality is, what service level agreements are, and you will understand what it takes to kind of earn that kind of a, just about simple, say 500 rupees in a day. Not even 500, right? It's probably less than that. 500 is just way too much. You probably won't get that much at a McDonald's or a Domino's. So why am I asking you to work at McDonald's or Domino's, or why am I asking you to work at a home jeweler kind of a thing or sell a sari? Because that is where you learn some of the hard-earned skills about what customer connect is, what connecting with your other particular peers is, what connecting with rest of the ecosystem is, what kind of challenges you are going to face. It's one thing to sit in an AC and crib about mere boss ne ye nahi diya, I didn't get a good laptop, he didn't kind of give me the right input, so I couldn't kind of deliver this on time. I did not get enough knowledge transition to kind of do this work. You're never going to get enough knowledge transition. You're never going to get a ramp up. Yeah, you can spend some time roaming around in the campus having fun. Most of the corporates have a 6 months or 3 months training program. But am I really looking for another fresher who's just going to roam around? Or am I looking for somebody who has the can-do attitude, who's willing to have a purpose and kind of deliver that purpose? So before you join an organization, my sincere request to you is figure out what your purpose is. Figure out what you enjoy doing, what you love doing, and make that your profession. The advice that I gave myself and my siblings and people I love was love what you do what you love. And if you can't do both of them, quit and find something that you love to do. Because you cannot, if you're not passionate about the work that you're doing, if you're not purpose driven, if you're not convinced that you are investing that effort in the right direction, then you will never enjoy the work and it'll be a chore and you'll come home feeling tired and say, Abhi ho gaya. Why do I even want to get up and go to office? The Monday morning blues and all the other terms start to come in. We don't want all that corporate jargon. If you have a purpose, and if you're working towards that purpose and building a network or building a community of like-minded professionals to kind of deliver on that purpose. As sir said, your network is your net worth. But in order to achieve that, you have to connect with like-minded people. You have to find your true purpose. I can throw in a term, you can go and look at it. Japanese call it the ikigai. Right? You can go and look at it, look it up. But simple, straightforward thing, be sincere, be honest, be your best particular self. You are your only competition. I'm kind of repeating all the phrases that I've heard throughout the day because those are the phrases that have been drilled into me. My only objective every day when I get up is to be a little bit better than what I was yesterday. To do a little bit better and deliver a little bit better result than what I did yesterday. Okay, do not look at others. Others have their own journey. You will have your own journey. Somebody will say he got a package of 15 lakhs. Somebody said he'll get a package of 3 lakhs. Mujhe kya mila? You might, I didn't even get an internship. Don't worry about that. Don't look at what others are getting. If you want to look at what others are getting and you want to get inspired, that's okay. But don't let it pull you down. Okay, you have to chart out your own journey. Everybody has their own pace. Everybody has their own success rate. In fact, I mean, KFC, you have heard of KFC, right? The interesting fact about KFC is the person who started KFC, he started it at the age of 65 after attempting to, commit suicide because he was a failure at practically everything that he did for the first 65 years of his life. Right? But today we look up to him because he's kind of established a brand like KFC. All I'm trying to kind of drive home with this example is everybody has their own journey at their own pace. So don't get dejected if you don't get a very big offer, or don't get, elated if you get a big offer. Both of them are a challenge. And I'll kind of go back to what sir said. Sthita pragya. That's a term in Gita ji, Bhagavad Gita. That is, you are at an equilibrium whether you get sorrow or joy. You don't let both of them trouble you too much. So with that, I've kind of taken up sir's time, ma'am's time, everybody, every time that they kind of left over for me. And I hope you had a good time. Thank you so much and have a great journey ahead.
Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening us about the trends in technology. We request Director Sir to extend a token of gratitude to ma'am. Can we have a huge round of applause for ma'am?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Today's session has broadened our horizons and given us a lot to learn from. We would like to thank our esteemed speakers for making the time to join us today. We request everyone to kindly rise and wait until the dignitaries leave.